witch is so unique.
The gift of witchcraft.
I was able to see, hear, and communicate with spirits.
A very personal relationship between a person and spirit. Carnal lust and fun things like that.
Working with different energies and spirits and communicating.
Creating magic.
Powerful ritual and powerful spell. She's actually sticking me in the cult.
The role of the witch is to make change.
Blessed be, y'all. Blessed be. People ask me like, okay, I'm a witch and I don't know what to do.
20 years ago, 3 young friends realized they were witches.
They scattered to different parts of the world following magic and spirit.
Now, they're back in their hometown to share what they've learned.
Welcome to That Witch Life Podcast, your home for living as a witch in today's world.
Hi, this is a witchcraft podcast. This is, in fact, That Witch Life Podcast. I'm Hillary. I'm your host today, and we're having a great interview that I'm really excited for you to listen to with Granddaughter Crow, and I am joined by my 2 co-hosts.
She was trying to decide what she should call us. Did you catch that, Kanani? Did you clock that?
She said co-hosts, which was nicer than whorebags. So
I'm here with my 2 co-hosts.
Co-hosts. Nightmares.
Bitches' names.
I'm
Nightmares.
Courtney.
I'll take that.
I'm Courtney, and I'm
and the one that's rambling instead of giving your name is Kanani.
Nani, I'm eating a sandwich.
What kind of sandwich are you eating?
I made pulled pork yesterday.
Nice.
no.
So I'm eating a pulled pork sandwich. I made carnitas with it yesterday, and today I made pulled pork sandwiches with it.
Yum.
Y'all, in further adventures of problems you have when you're a witch married to a witch, I fucked up what I guess is now part of our ritual tradition for Samhain dinner. So, we're recording this on Monday, November 6th, so it's just past Samhain. And my husband and I did our Samhain supper last night. We do the dumb supper where we make foods that our ancestors would have liked. We eat it in silence, then we do divination. And a few years ago, instead of throwing the food away or leaving it out so that the bugs would get it or that the dog would eat it, or, we don't put it out in the garden because, some of the stuff is toxic to animals. We decided, okay, we put the food away and then we eat it the next day cold. So, when it's hot, that's the offering to the ancestors. And it's kind of like, eating the leftovers. So, my husband comes home and all this chaos is going on. We're trying to record with Granddaughter Crow. The baby's crying and all of this. And all of a sudden he stops and he said, "Did you eat last night's offerings?" And I said, "Yeah, I had them for lunch." And he's like, "I thought that we eat them the next day together." And I looked at him and I go, "I don't know anything that's going on in our life right now because of the small human." So, yeah. And he goes, "Well, I just want to make sure that I didn't mess anything up." And I'm looking at him like, "No, honey, you didn't."
This time you did not.
That is the most backhanded way of trying to accuse you of messing up I have ever heard. And I would be so offended, except for the fact that I have mastered that maneuver and used it many a times. So,
what's really funny is, so I was maybe going to come down to, because we had talked about me coming down to see Courtney and Brian, because I haven't been down there to see Courtney, Brian, and Nugget in a while. And I was like, maybe Sunday. And then they were like, oh, we're going to do, you were talking about the supper and all of this. And I was like, yeah. And then I ended up just being way too exhausted. But I was laying in bed last night and I was like, no wonder Brian was excited that I was going to come over to not talk at a dinner. He was like, this is the perfect scenario. These 2 have to shut the fuck up during the dinner.
Yeah, this is the one time of year that Hillary is welcome to come over for.
I was like, oh man, did Brian outsmart us?
He was just kind of like, of course. He's like, of course, honey, your friend is welcome to come. You and Hillary would be wonderful to have you. Yeah, no, honey, if you're listening, I don't know. I'm probably going to be in trouble for even telling the leftover Samhain supper story. But that's just what happens when you're in a relationship with a witch, is that at some point you will screw up the ritual you 2 have done together, which I did. And I'm apologizing.
Whoops. You're like, I'm half apologizing. I'm apologizing and also giving myself room for understanding because you have a tiny human
who's been crying for hours.
who has
10
a lot of
hours.
needs
I actually
right now.
had something I did. So there was a full moon right before Samhain, and I did the kids and I went out, and life has just been really crazy lately. And so, and with the weather starting to get cooler, the times that we're going to be able to use the fire pit in the backyard are getting fewer and fewer. So I'm trying to really be outside and kind of do the last minute barbecuing and all the things we can do before we're just not really going to be able to use the yard anymore. And so for that full moon, we roasted hot dogs and s'mores over the fire in the fire pit. The kids played outside. We spent most of the evening by the fire. I went through my magical supplies and kind of found a bunch of just stuff that I needed to burn. Did some ritual stuff, wrote some stuff down, had the kids write some stuff down, did some manifestation work. And I had made a bunch of lavender satchels or sachets that I'd given out like over the summer. And I still had a giant bag of lavender. And I didn't know what to do with it. And I was, there's more than enough to make a lot more stuff and do wands and things like that. But I was just kind of tired of looking at the bag all the time, because it just felt like another project. And I'm really working on trying to, tie up all my loose ends and just kind of move forward. So I decided I literally took the entire bag and I threw it in the fire pit while I was doing a spell. And it created a plume and I was doing kind of a protection spell and some blessing spells and things like that. And it created a plume of smoke that was so huge that it wafted over my entire house, which was fucking awesome because part of my house is 2 stories. And so there was so much smoke that it wafted over my entire house and just kind of encapsulated my house.
Oh, wow.
In like this incredible moment of like purification and protection and healing. And I was like, that's why I threw.
Is that why your skin looks so dewy? Is that why your skin looks so dewy and glowing? Because you kind of have this milkmaid moonbeam thing going on.
I do. It's what I do. It's what I do.
You totally do. Rage. I thought that too. I was like, your skin looks so good today.
To come out of my pores.
The rage comes out. The rage comes up and cleans out your pores.
The rage bubbles up and does a facial cleansing.
Beautiful dew. A beautiful Mountain Dew.
Yeah, I did. I actually made some chicken soup from scratch, which is like one of my favorite comfort foods. And then offered some of that with some fresh bread and some really nice tea for my ancestors. And it was nice. I eat it later I leave it out for a while. The thing is like, there is no place that is safe for dogs because I don't have like
not your dogs.
And the problem is like, I don't have a dining room area. So there's like no place that I can put something other than on the kitchen counter.
Yeah.
So usually what I do is I leave it out earlier and stay up quite late that night. And then right before I go to bed, I either put it away or I'll eat it later that evening when it's cold also, I'll reheat it or whatever. But it's nice. And I got some fresh flowers and some rosemary from my garden. Rosemary is really great herb for ancestors because it has, there's a lot of properties around remembrance. And so I find that like that connotation is really nice. So I put that with some marigolds and some other, shrubbery, and the rosemary was from my garden. I put that on my altar and lit some candles and put the food out, and it was really nice. It was just very mellow. I was I've been pretty tired recently. I've got a lot going on, so it was nice to kind of keep it mellow. Although I'm sad that I missed Brian's momentous opportunity to have us at a dinner table together, silent.
I know, and I think that the spirits like we're like, oh, touche, motherfucker, because and make like trying to add some levity to the situation because I know that you're really disappointed that you couldn't come. I was oh, you're gonna miss out on the fried chicken, and you're like, that's why I'm disappointed. I ended up burning it. I did.
I feel like I just need to take responsibility for some of that. Sorry.
I'm blaming you 100%.
It's me. It's
and
obviously
it's like,
me.
I mean, I still ate it and I ate it again, and I'm probably gonna have another piece of it once we finish this recording because I'm still hungry as
because it's probably still delicious.
It still has a nice crunch to it but it's like they talk about motherhood being humbling, and it is, because you're exhausted and you can't keep on top of your shit, and your hair is like I'm surprised there are not spiders in my hair, because it's just like matted and insane and all that kind of stuff. But then also you just find you're not as good at anything anymore as you used to be. Like I used to be such an arrogant bastard about my fried chicken. I'd be like, I make the best fried chicken. And that was true until I had a baby. And now I can't do anything because I screw it all up. Because I'm just like distracted and I'm tired.
No person on the planet has a new baby and is like, I am keeping things exactly as they were on top of everything, like I didn't have a tiny human. Like,
yeah, because you're just like, you're not paying as much attention to the temperature of the oil, and you're not paying as much attention to the amount of flour you put on there, or how long it's been on there, because you're doing 18 million fucking things. So it's just, yeah. I'm just going to continue to blame her for all of my shortcomings for the rest of my life. I'm going to take a page out of...
that's fine. That's what I used to do to you all the time.
That's the trade-off.
That's like, I'll take that from Kanani's parenting handbook. Blame it on the kids. That's like chapter 1, blame it on the kids. Chapter 2, please see chapter 1. Chapter 3.
Exactly.
Are you still wondering what I said? See, please see chapter 1. Then chapters 4 through 10 are just blank. Like, if you haven't figured it out, then go back and read chapter 1.
Right.
Again.
Like, I can't help you anymore. I can't give you more guidance besides this. There's nothing else. Nothing for you.
I have one more rant, and then I will shut the fuck up for the rest of this intro.
I disagree. Knowing your history, you're never going to shut the fuck up.
No, but here's so Halloween night, we had the most trick-or-treaters we've ever had.
Yeah, I had a ton. I had like 50 trick-or-treaters.
Yeah. I mean, it was perfect weather here in this region of Pacific Northwest. And it was also, finally COVID has receded enough. Not saying it's gone, but it's receded enough so that kids, felt comfortable come out trick-or-treating.
Yeah, especially outside. Yeah.
Outside. Yeah. So, we're passing out the full-size candy bars because we rock. We had so much fun. I had one kid actually salute me as she went off with her friends. She's like, your decorations and your full-size candy bars, you win. And she saluted me. And I was like, yes. Okay. The next day, I'm getting on Nextdoor because I'm curious and I love the tea and stuff like that. And there's a lot of different people complaining that kids not only emptied the candy buckets that they left on their front porch, but some of the kids stole their $4.99 Target Halloween buckets. And they're like, what is this world coming to that these children don't respect? And I'm sorry, I'm on the side of the kids. I'm on the fucking side of the kids.
It's a fucking scandal.
It's like, I don't think it's a good, no, I don't want to see kids egging houses, breaking windows, damaging property. That's not cool. If you leave a bucket of candy out on the porch, somebody's going to come along and empty it into their bag. It's fine. And if you've got a plastic bucket out there that's clearly from, you didn't spend more than $6 on it and someone steals it, it's Halloween night. Get over it. Like,
yeah. Also, like, I mean, at one point, so I was out there. So I sit on my porch in a rocking chair, usually dressed up as a witch. Because one, it's funny, and two,
it's amazing.
The dogs bark everything. Like if someone comes to the door, then the dogs are gonna be like, "Wah," the whole time. So it's like I sit out there, which was hysterically scared the shit out of some kids because they thought I was fake. Like one girl came up and just stopped and went, "Oh God, I thought you were fake." I was like,
and then Hillary says, "You can say lots of things about me, but I'm not fake."
And so, and then one kid was like, "I gotta be honest, I'm kind of freaked out by you." I was like, "Oh yeah," and she was like, "Yeah, you're kind of scary," and I was like, "I promise, I'm really nice." Like. But I was sitting, and it was hilarious because my neighbor had a scary clown mask on and was like sitting in his like behind the screen door with all the lights off. So when people would walk up, he'd just turn the light on his face. And so you'd hear people like scream, and then they'd come to me, and I had like this creepy music playing, and I had like a fake, like a cauldron that it's like a Halloween decoration cauldron that makes all this like bubbling noise. And then I had a crow crowing, and I had a soundtrack on, and I had like, you know, a whole cemetery. I mean, it was like a whole thing. I was, you know, it's funny, like I've been sick recently, so I've been trying to get over not feeling well. And I was like, do I do the dishes or do I put up Halloween decorations? I don't have energy to do both. And obviously Halloween decorations won.
Obviously
that
was the correct choice.
Had to wait.
Priorities.
But it was really funny because so like I got it all set up like hours before trick-or-treaters showed up. I was like, shit, like because I also been out of town a bunch too. So but it was so fun. I mean, there was so many cute kids and so many outfits, and it was like, you know, I got about 50 or so trick-or-treaters, and one, I actually had a total freak out. I told this to Courtney because this family of what originally I thought were 3 little pink pigs walked up, and I just about shit myself.
Oh my God.
I was like, it was 2 little kids and their mom, and they were in these pink onesies, and I thought they were pigs, and I was so excited. And then I realized they were dinosaurs. But then I just decided, whatever, it's a pigosaur, obviously. That's what it was.
Pigosaur. I had the cutest thing happen because since obviously I have kids who play with other kids in the neighborhood, so I recognized quite a few of the kids that came to my door that were trick-or-treating. But the funniest thing happened was at one point, one of the little boys that's younger than my son that likes to play with my son, the little boy's probably like 5 or 6. I think maybe he's a kindergartner. And then he has a little sister who's like 3. So she's real little. And they come and they knock on the door, and I answer the door, and I grab my bowl, and he just walks on in, and he just walks in, and his little sister just follows him, and they're in my living room, and he's looking around, and he goes, "So you watching scary movies in here?" And I just started laughing. And I looked at him and I said, "Oh no, I don't do scary movies. They scare me." And his little sister goes, "Two." And I can see out the door his parents who were just like, "Oh my, why are they in the house? Why are they in the house?" And so I was just chatting with him, and I got him out of the house and gave him the candy. But it was just he just walks on in. "Hey, so you watching scary movies in here?"
And his parents were like, "Why? Why are you like this?" It's so funny. Yeah, I was out until about like 9 o'clock, and then eventually I was like, it is cold and there's hardly any people anymore. So I left, I still had quite a bit of candy. So like, because I got so much, because I usually do full size, but I just didn't have time to get my shit together this year. So I just went with whatever. But I was letting people take like 3 different candies, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, I like put it out. I still had quite a lot of candy left, and I was like, oh my God. I put it out, and I was like, I really hope someone steals this. Like, I hope that someone is like, you know what? It's the end of the night. I doubt anyone else is coming. Dump. Like, just do it, you know? Because like at the end of the day, I don't want people knocking on my door. And I also don't want all this candy because I'm going to get stoned later, and then I'm going to eat all that candy, and then I'm going to regret my choices. And I just was like, no, I need to like protect myself from myself. So thank you to whoever stole my candy. You saved me from myself.
I get so irritated when people criticize people for leaving candy out and people that criticize people for taking all the candy, because both are fine. It's fine to leave the candy out, and it's fine for someone to take the whole bucket. Come on, guys.
Also, we got to stop. Like, I heard so many people criticizing like teenagers. I'm like, literally, who gave a fuck? I trick-or-treated until I was 18, for sure. Like, or like maybe 16, 17, 18, like till I was a teen. I mean, like in high school. Because
me too.
Fucking free candy.
Why the fuck not? Yeah.
Why not?
I think the last time I went, I was 15. I went with Lyman. Our friend Lyman Blanco. I'm sure we're changing his name to
with you guys, actually. I think I was 16 and with you guys.
Okay. Yeah, you might have come with us. But yeah, with Lyman Blanco, whose name has been changed to protect his innocence.
It says, we protect Lyman's innocence.
Yes.
There's nothing innocent about Lyman.
One of our other friends was like, everyone knows who that is. I was like, you don't say. Don't say.
No one knows who that is, but his name is completely protected.
They're like, I don't think that's working. I was like, yeah, no shit. That's the point. No shit, Sherlock. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm really excited for everyone that gets to listen to this awesome episode with Granddaughter Crow. It's way better than this shit show of an intro.
For sure. For sure.
She's lovely. And I really just feel like the insight she gave was so, so great. And, I encourage people to pick up the book. It's awesome. So enjoy that. And it's probably time for us to go for a sponsor break. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's hear from our sponsors.
Okay, Kachina Aurora fans, get ready because our friend Dawn Hunt has now launched a new, drumroll, tomato sauce. Magical marinara, roasted garlic, pomodoro. Holy shit.
We got to try it. I made this incredible pasta dish for my husband. I throw some beef sausage in there, just regular old stuff from the grocery store, topped it with this sauce, threw it on some gluten-free pasta because I have the celiac. My husband did not stop talking about this. I'm serious. The rest of the night was, oh my God, the sauce is so good. Oh my God, I am under Dawn's spell. Oh my God, I can't stop. I mean, the flavors sit with you. And like you just feel comforted and you feel loved and you really feel the magic that she puts in there and the high quality ingredients. I am actually serving that pasta dish with that sauce to my Italian mother-in-law when she's here next week. Okay, that is saying something, and I'm going to do it.
I mean, it's so true. I finally got my hands on a jar and it was the best. Like, I was like, wow, I don't even need to touch anything. This is perfection in a jar. I mean, honestly, I love everything Dawn does, but I also really lean into the Kachina Aurora infused olive oils, which are not only incredible to put on food, but they are also each crafted with magical intention. So you've got a really good, ready to go, delicious food, as well as your spell work.
If you haven't tried her coffee yet, you need to get on it because she has different ones for each of the seasons. Not only that, but she also has different brews for the dark moon, half moon, and full moon. These are whole bean coffees with different spectrums of darkness and strength. They're almost as dark as my soul. They are so, so good.
To bring your own practice into the kitchen, go to KachinaAurora.com ASAP and use code WitchLife to get 10% off. That's code WitchLife for 10% off.
Do it, witches, and thank you to Kachina Aurora for being an episode sponsor.
Literally everyone knows this podcast runs on blood, sweat, tears, and jasmine pearl tea. But now get ready, witches. Our beautiful friends at the Jasmine Pearl Tea Company have some new blends for this summer.
Oh my God. Seriously, everyone knows how obsessed I am with tea, and I am extra obsessed with Jasmine Pearl. Fortune's Fool, which is a pu'er tea for those looking for a more sophisticated tea, is insane. I am in love with it. Plus, it has pigs on the wrapper, which makes it extra amazing.
I need all of that tea.
They're insane. And everyone knows that coffee is my jam. One of the ways that you can get me to drink tea is when you have some sort of a mint tea. And the Northwest mint is absolutely fantastic. It's something that you can make in a large brew and you can put in your fridge so that you can drink it cold during hot months. And it is absolutely marvelous.
Yeah, and also the blackberry fig, which can be enjoyed either hot or iced. I mean, it's the end of the summer. Iced tea is still the thing, but the nights are getting cooler, and so this is a really great one to have around during the transition from summer to autumn. Also, you've got the equinox. It's a great herbal for this coming month and the change in the seasons, and it contains herbs that can be sometimes beneficial for those of us with uteruses.
You really, really need to go check out these teas at thejasminepearl.com. Save 10% with coupon code WITCH2023. That's WITCH2023. And you get free shipping on orders over $35. So get those orders in.
Thank you so much to the Jasmine Pearl Tea Company for being an episode sponsor.
Well, Well, we are super, super excited to welcome to the show Granddaughter Crow. Granddaughter Crow holds a doctorate in leadership, internationally recognized as a medicine woman. She comes from a long line of spiritual leaders as a member of the Navajo Nation. She is an award-winning author with books translated into many languages. She is a bridge for wisdom and transformation between the indigenous native worldview and modern Western worldview. More than that, she has dedicated her life to inspiring, encouraging, and empowering individuals to be their authenticity. And you can find her at granddaughtercrow.com, and we'll talk more about where you can find her towards the end of the episode. But we are thrilled to have you on the show. So welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. I am thrilled to be on the show and with you, sacred witches.
Yes. So, we've been really excited to have you on. We've been getting ourselves all pumped all weekend. And so tell us a little bit, like, how has your week been? How has this season been for you going into fall, winter? Like, how have things been in your world?
I love it. Thank you for asking me. I really enjoy autumn because in the shifting of the season and the turning of the day to night, it really helps me to do my witchery around All Hallows Eve and Samhain. And it really does feel like that, being right there, with the longer nights and the shorter days and the cooling of the air, which is really, really beautiful. I really take it as a transformational, colorful time.
Yeah, I agree. This is one of my favorite times of year. And like that, when it starts to get that crisp air, there's still some sun. It's not totally, gloomy yet, but it also has that really crisp smell in the air. I love this time of year. One of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've looked at your book, Belief, Being, and Beyond, and I really want to know what inspired you to write this book. Where did this inspiration come from? Was there like a aha moment for you?
Absolutely. I'll tell you a quick story. So, based on my life, and, as you go through Belief, Being, and Beyond, I have little, anecdotal things about my personal life, about how I was raised in a very strict, dogmatic household, religion, and to the extent where you were not allowed to question. And what you believed really dictated everything in your life. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I will tell you, my aha moment was I was about 30 going through my Saturn return, and I decided to go to college. So Gen 101, first night of college, icebreaker. The instructor, the professor says, so let's get to know each other. If you were to write a book, what would the title be? So I thought about it. They gave us, 3 minutes or whatever. And I wrote something down on a piece of paper in front of me. Well, what ended up happening was we started going around the room. And this one guy says, I could write a book about how to ski. And I'm like, oh, uh-oh. And the next lady's like, how to bake oatmeal cookies. And I went too deep again. I'm going to embarrass myself again.
Oh my God.
I'm going to start a club and you can co-found it with me because that is the story of my freaking life.
Yeah, where you're like, someone asks you something and you think you're answering in a reasonable format and they're like, what the hell are you talking about?
And the room goes a little quiet and it's like, oh, well.
I've been there so many times.
Exactly. And so in that split moment, as we all identify with that split moment, I had the opportunity to change to a very surface, mundane answer. How to roller skate, how to twirl a baton. I don't know, something really mundane and surface. But I decided that moment of courage, which came from wherever inside of me, whatever it is, I decided to actually read what I wrote down. And this was over 2 decades ago. And I said, the book that I would write is Belief, Being, and Beyond. And of course, that awkward silence comes over, and I don't know what to do with that energy. So I just kind of sit there like I know what I'm talking about, And the professor was actually engaged me with a lot of curiosity and said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, because whatever it is that you believe in, beyond religion, whatever you believe in constitutes your behavior and your beingness and how you show up in the world. But there's always something beyond that. We can always expand ourselves even further." So that was my aha moment.
I love that. I mean, I think that like it's so true. I mean, I was also raised in a like, this is what you believe. This is, I mean, Courtney and I met in Catholic school, so that'll tell you that much about that, So it's like, it's this, I was, and my family wasn't crazy religious, but there was never this like encouragement to be curious about your belief system. It was just like, oh, this is, this, we believe in God and this is what God looks like and this is what you do. And so I think I agree that like, I also think it's very important to question things because I mean, I also think that those questions, I think sometimes people feel or insinuate that those questions are not showing faith. I actually think it gives you a deeper relationship with what your belief system is. Cause you're not just going, I don't know why I believe that, but I do. You're like actually taking ownership over what you believe and what you feel versus just letting a dogma dictate to you what and how you should believe or feel.
100%, Hillary. And I just wanted to add with that, I will not worship a deity that is afraid of my questions.
Right. I mean, yeah, exactly. I think it's really important to be able to ask questions, and I think people that I know that have the strongest relationship in their spiritual practice or religious practice are people who have, deep dove into that. They didn't just go, okay, well, I guess, because like, again, then that's not actually like, I want to connect on a deep level with things and not just go, oh, I do this because, well, actually, I don't know what, so I think that questioning is so important. I know you mentioned that in your youth, you had a moment where you realized you really shouldn't listen to what you had always been told. What was that? What was that moment? And what age was that? And what happened?
Absolutely. So the moment that sticks out in my memory the most, I was 15 years old, and now I was raised by religion. I mean, my parents met in seminary school and it was very, very strict. We were not allowed to listen to quote unquote secular music. I was very sheltered. And I remember I used to love to roller skate. And anytime I ever wanted to do something, go roller skating, spend the night at my friend's house, whatever, my mother would say, pray about it. Pray about it. And after a while, at the age of 15, I was like, oh, I get it. So I went to my mom and I said, I prayed about it and God said that I should go roller skating tonight. I mean, I caught the game, I caught the game.
I remember catching that game too, where it's like, oh, I'm going to lean into this.
Exactly. And so I had this conversation with my mom. Basically, she said, pray about it. And I said, this is my sass. And this is where I took my stance. And I said, why would I pray to have God come down and tie my shoelaces for me? Didn't he give me the brain and the hands to do so? And isn't that a waste of his time? Didn't he give me a brain and a thought process to be able to make these decisions on my own? Why would I ask God that question? That was the dividing moment.
Woo! That is like that's such a powerful thing to have. And I think it's true. I mean, I think we talk a lot on the podcast about how, the practices we have aren't meant to replace practicality, right? It's like, like for instance, if you are, we often have people write to us about, oh, I'm having this legal problem, or, oh, I'm having this, whatever problem. And we're like, right, but first you need to go to talk to a lawyer, right? And you can do magic to support the practical aspects that you're taking. But if the only thing you're doing is taking these, like, if you just think you're going to be able to do work in your own practice to overcome something that also requires a practical approach, you're missing the point. That's not, we have to be a collaborative part of that. So, it's a really beautiful, kind of awareness to have at that age, to go, wait a minute, why would I pray about whether I should go roller skating? It's not to help me in an impossible situation, or help me try and figure out, or I'm scared of something, like major things. We're talking about, whether I go roller skating or not. I love that.
Oh, and here, this is such Courtney bait right here, because this, to me, feels like it's setting us up for fascism. If we feel like we're comfortable with the idea of this omnipresent force dictating the smallest minutia of our lives, okay, all right, I'm going to step off before I just,
No, but it's true. I mean, like, we should be taught, like, our religion or our spiritual practice, whatever that looks like for someone, it should be an accompaniment to your life, not like the thing you do instead of doing anything. It's the same, we talk about this with, like, when people are casting love spells, but like, as if they expect someone to just, like, poof on their front doorstep. Like, you have to, like, go out and meet people to form a relationship. You have to go and apply for jobs to find a job. You can't just do money magic or career magic, So I think it's true when we say that in order to make even the smallest decisions, it has to involve a deity. That takes away a lot of our personal power.
Absolutely, 100%. And, my mission in life, in whatever I do, whether it's my authorship or a one-on-one session or teaching a class, I always revert to this. I am here to inspire, to encourage, to empower you to be your authenticity. And I come at this from a position of whatever it is that says that you believe or recognizes that created you, you are giving gratitude to whatever that is when you are authentic, when you think for yourself, when you are curious, because that's the whole point.
I think it's not only in someone's spiritual practice, but I think it also has a lot to do with, it is kind of funny because it does very much go along with what Courtney was talking about, as far as, it can then lead into other avenues of people blindly following political leaders and other leaders. It's the concept of empowering people to understand, have faith, and know that you have the ability to make these decisions, to think for yourself, to have your questions answered. To me, it's one of the integral parts of being a parent, is instilling in my kids the knowledge that mom's not always going to be there. So your first, line of defense better not be, I need to go ask mom what to do. You need to, take the lessons you've learned and think and be able to, on the fly, make your own decision, because we're all people and we have the right and the ability and the power to make these decisions. And when you take that away in a political sense, in a religious sense, and you just want people to, blindly follow anything, I mean, there's reason behind that. It's manipulation. It's to get people to do what you want and be undereducated and follow in line and not ask questions So I think that does speak very well of you, that growing up in that situation, you were able to separate enough to kind of stop, look back and go, that's not right. That isn't smack right. That doesn't make sense. And then, like you said, and then you just kind of learned to play the game because you understood this is a game. This is a way to get me to do certain things. So, okay, I have certain things I want to do. I'm going to use this to do what I want to do. I'm going to say, you know what? I just prayed about it. I need to go stay at my friend Rachel's tonight. I'll see you in the morning, because if they're going to follow along with the same game, who are they to say no?
I actually had a friend who had this amazing story. Like when her daughter was about 4 years old, she came out of the kitchen with like a handful of Oreos or Chips Ahoy or something. She's just eating all this stuff. And her mom said, "Who told you could have those?" And she just said, completely straight face, "Jesus." that's when my friend was like, "I think we're going to need to start a theological discussion a little early about the purpose of prayer." And
I love
I don't know.
it.
It sounds like she figured it out to me.
Oh, do you know how much homework I didn't do because I knew that the second coming of Christ was going to happen tomorrow? So why do your homework? Absolutely.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely times where I leaned on that, where it was like, oh, I got this message, or like God told me this or whatever, and it was like, I mean, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, well, that's so funny though. Jesus told me to eat the Oreos.
Oh God, this was actually mine when I was in 8th grade. Oh, this is terrible.
Oh no.
I've never told this story. It's so embarrassing.
Oh my God. Well, good thing you're bringing it up on a large podcast in front of lots of people. Let's go.
So I really wanted to sing as a solo Mariah Carey's Hero at the St. Pius X middle school graduation brunch.
Of course you
and
did.
my friends were trying to talk me out of it. So I prayed about it and I said,
impossible.
I prayed about it and I said,
prayed about it.
I said, "God, can you show me a sign if you want me to sing Mariah Carey's Hero at the brunch?" And right then,
did I call you?
No.
And say no.
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 My mother came in and said, "Honey, your dad and I think it's not a good idea for you to sing Mariah Carey's Hero at the brunch."
There you go. Ask and you shall receive. There it is, right there.
God was like, "You shall not sing at the."
God's like, we're doing the child a favor. She does not have the range, and the acoustics in the brunch room are going to be really bad.
That's fantastic. See, I had a very different growing up experience in that my family was not, my parents, at least in my part of the family, my immediate family, were not practicing. And so I was kind of free to do whatever as far as religion went. But I also was raised in the 80s and 90s where I was pretty much feral. And I remember in high school asking my mother and saying, "Mom, is it true that you can't get pregnant in a swimming pool?" Because someone had told me that. And in my head, I'm just like, that doesn't seem right. But there's chemicals in a pool. So maybe that's right. And my mother just looked at me and she said, "I did not raise you to be that stupid." And then I had to go sit in my room and think about what I had said and why it was stupid. And
she's like, "What are you talking about?"
With my mother, it wasn't even like, imparting of the wisdom. She's just like, no, that's a hard pass. You're going to have, no, that's a no. And so, I was very lucky, and I've realized later in my life, and I'm working very diligently to do it with my own children, that I was what felt kind of maybe rough, or, it definitely wasn't gentle parenting, right? But I grew up with a fierce sense of independence and understanding of myself, and belief that even if I made the wrong choice, I could fix it.
Perfect.
And so, but not everyone had that. And like I said, a lot of mine was kind of, you just get shown a wall, like, that was stupid. Don't say that again. You just go to your room and think about, why was that stupid, and figure it out and realize, oh yeah, no, that doesn't make sense. But, there's so much power in empowering others in all facets of life. And so I think your approach of meeting people where they are in whatever belief structure they have and empowering that and empowering them within that, I think is fantastic.
Thank you. And it's so true, because with all of these things, I hope that the audience actually thinks of times that maybe they have in their own lived experience. But the premise that we're talking about is very daunting, but very simplistic. That did deity create you to be a thinker and a doer, a creator of your own? Or are you going to give that power away? I mean, that's short and simple. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about my creator created me not of sin, not into sin, as a sinner. My creator created me to be an expression of life to its fullest, all of it. And in that, I get to live. And in that, it's so simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. But that's a lot about what this book, Belief, Being, and Beyond, is about. It's kind of funny because, like I told you earlier, I had named this book 2 decades ago, and I actually apparently didn't treat it as an icebreaker for Gen 101 starting in college and my undergrad. I literally wrote the book, but what was so beautiful is that the publicist, Llewellyn, who published this, tagged it on, and it says, your journey to questioning ideas, deconstructing concepts, and healing from harmful belief systems. That's what this book is about. So in short, as much fun as we are having around our stories, which I find very lively that we can giggle about, I hope that your listeners have those too. And if your listeners do have those, wait, I'm allowed to question, I'm allowed to be curious. That might be a new concept or a rebel concept. This is a really good book for you to be able to reflect upon on how to do that. What are the steps, etc.
Well, it's scary, I think. It's scary to question when you haven't before. It's scary when you've been operating because there's a sense of security, and it's false security, but there is security, a sense of security in trusting that things are just going to happen, right? And so when you are asked to question the process, how you can interact with that process differently, it is scary. It is scary, and it is. And I think that I think that being willing to, again, it comes down to that, being willing to see yourself as a collaborative part of that process becomes so empowering, because it's not you just following or just taking everything in and just going, okay, and taking it all in as fact. Sometimes we receive information that is really critical and really important, and that will stick with us forever. But then I think the ability to come into your own and realize that we have so much more ability than we realize to have control over our lives, from a practical sense, from a spiritual sense, from a energetic sense, and so I think that curiosity and questioning is such an important part of the process.
There's also a huge fallacy in believing that just because something is simple, it's easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes some of the most simple, quote unquote, things to do.
This is some serious Kanani magician wisdom. I'm like, what? And it's not even about chicken wings this time.
And it's not about chicken wings. I did have some excellent chicken wings earlier, but maybe that's where the wisdom is coming from. It's coming from the chicken wings. I don't know. But, some of the hardest things that I've ever done in my life are things that are, in essence, supposed to be very, very simple. But sometimes those very simple things are very, very difficult.
Granddaughter Crow, what do you feel? So you write in the book about, wanting to look at, and a lot of the book is looking at how we're not as different as we think we are. When we look at our belief systems, we're not as we often, I think, say, oh, well, that's those people and this is us and these are those people over there. Why do you think it's critical that we realize that we really aren't that different?
Okay, so I'm going to give you a very deep, simple, not easy concept. Just like Kanani was talking about, it's going to be simple, but it's not easy. So I am a part of the world around me, just like the tree is a part of the ecosystem. And so in that, there is a collective. If I go out to my tree and my grapevine and the grass and I tell them to go against each other because they are all different, because they look different, one's taller, one has a different mission, one has this, one has that, they start separating themselves from themselves, the ecosystem breaks down, period. We collectively are an ecosystem. You don't need to believe exactly what I believe. I will respect you, but do not force somebody to be you or what you believe. Everybody gets to be a part of this ecosystem. So I'm going back to the wisdom of the natural world. The natural world tells us that it is an organic ecosystem. Whether you're a tree or a deer or a river or a rock, you all get to be there and you are all a part of that natural, organic, dynamic. What happens within dogma, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure that all of you have your thoughts about this, but what happens is it separates us from ourself, not only from our sisters and our brothers around the globe, from our tribe. It separates us from ourself. If I think that my brain isn't supposed to think for itself, I'm separating from myself. If I deny my feelings, I'm separating from myself. So separation versus inclusion. That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you for that. That I think is so important. I think the things that, we don't all, exactly as you said, we don't all have to believe identical things to understand that like all of those beliefs are important. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't have to believe the same thing as my neighbor does, as my best friend does, as my whatever. But I think that we oftentimes, we see so often that being used as a division of people, like, oh, well, that's this over here, you believe that and that's different than me and we can't, and it's the thing is like there is a lot of commonality. We are all part of that ecosystem. It's so true. We exist in this world together regardless of what our individual beliefs look like. We're all part of it. We can't run away from each other.
Absolutely. And so what I would have to add on to this dynamic is, wouldn't it be easier to control people who are separated from themselves and from everybody else? Wouldn't it be easier to dominate a subculture if they thought that they were different? Wouldn't it be harder for us to, it would be harder to actually dominate us in our mind, our body, our spirit. It'd be harder to dominate us if we all realized that we all matter and what we say matters, and we are literally a part of the whole. Coming together, the separation is the most difficult word, the collectiveness. So in this book, I do write about different, even the commonality within religions. We all have a creation story, even science. We all have a savior, including science, whether it be Einstein or not. We all have these big, bright ideas about us being humans and what's going to handle, where are we going to go? What's going to happen? These big questions. Where did we come from? How do we get cleansed from our sins if we feel dirty? Is there a savior or something to emulate? And what happens after I die? So when you look at it from that point of view, you have like 3 different sects that will talk to you about it. It will be theology. The religion will come at you and tell you what it is supposed to be. It will be mythology and the mythos of what these stories look like. They answer those basic questions. And it's also philosophy. And so when you look at it, we're all asking the same question. Where did I come from and where am I going? And when we start separating and segregating, I'm sorry, I am a Navajo that is all about community, and I am you and you are me and we are connected. So when I see separation based on mental thought process or dogma, it breaks my heart, because that means that we are not going to collectively rise. And I'll leave it at this. I am authentic, just like you. We are the same. We are both authentic.
Just picking up from what you were saying, GDC, is that, the term divide and conquer came from specifically probably those kinds of tactics when it comes to people. We usually use that when it comes to like household tasks or, other sort of things. But remembering that, folks, that divide and conquer has a meaning and a plan behind it.
Yes, exactly. You talk about the 4 stages of human lifespan. Can you tell us, what those are and why it's important to understand them?
Absolutely. So, it's kind of funny because as you roll around in the world, you get to look at life through different models. One model to look at life through is what you talk about, Hillary, the 4 stages, which I bring up in the book, which is basically the birth, and then you have and you're in your formative years, and then you have this adolescence and this, I'm going to go out there and be bright. I am, infinite, and I am just courageous. And I want you to feel that. And then there is this time of adult, and that is a different season that we live in. And then there is the elder, and the elder is the wisdom keeper that no longer needs to prove themselves. And so when I talk about that, basically the beauty around it, breaking down, now one could break it down into whatever modality they want to, but the reason why that's so beautiful is that I talk about birth as a sunrise in the morning. You're waking up. I talk about your adolescence and finding yourself at noontime when everything is bright and there are no shadows. I talk about adulthood as this evening time when you finally settled in, the job you want, the career you want, the family, the lifestyle. And I talk about the elder as the nighttime, the owl, the wisdom keeper. So in the 4 process modality, it really kind of helps us. I walk us through, and if you're curious about what I'm saying, please pick up the book, Belief, Being, and Beyond by Granddaughter Crow. But at the end of the day, I break it down. So what I'm talking about isn't necessarily a concept in your mental body. I break it down to the morning, noon, evening, and night, because that is where you physiologically experience, what does it feel like to wake up? What does it feel like to be in the bright sun? What does it feel like to be in my evening? What does it feel like to be at night? So that your body intellect can help you through your life. If that's deep, pick up the book and give me a call. We'll talk more.
I love that advice. I love that. I mean, I think I love how you broke that down, the relationship between like daytime, daylight, night, and how that affiliates or corresponds to those stages. If people are, how can people, or is it possible? How do you define or find out what stage you're in?
I love it. So I think that that's a brilliant question, because there are times I am still in the morning of a new concept and I'm a baby and I don't know what the heck we're talking about,
Right? Sometimes we feel like we think we've got it, and then all of a sudden we're like, nope, don't got it,
Exactly. So what I would say is that it's very fluid. When you look at your physical, I'll break it down to the 4 bodies of existence, which I talk about in the book. Not a highly esoteric concept. The 4 bodies of existence is the physical realm, the emotional realm, the mental realm, and the spiritual realm. So when you look at your physical being, you see this stage. It's very clear. I am a Gen X. I am what I like to call a young elder, but Some may think differently. I am a young elder, so I am in the nighttime. But emotionally, there are topics and concepts that I am still a baby at. Mentally, there are topics and concepts that I'm still a baby at. And spiritually, there are concepts and topics that I'm still a baby at. So we need to recognize that we are interdimensional, multifaceted expressions of the divine itself, not to be limited to a category. So when you think about, if you want to know, I'm looking at the map and I want that little red arrow to tell me you are here, I would say breathe. Think about where you are physically. Where are you on your age? And then allow yourself to be adaptable, to be in the morning of a new concept, to be at noon in a new concept, to be in the evening in a new concept, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, because that is life giving to itself. You are a multidimensional, multifaceted being, and I am not going to label you. So be who you are, and whatever you say, I will go with. If you say, Granddaughter Crow, I feel like this, hey, that is your divine telling my divine what you are. I'm with you.
Thank you for clarifying that. I think that's really so, I mean, that really, I feel like that, I really resonated with that because I think that, like I said, sometimes there are some parts of my life and sometimes just even in a general stage. I mean, we know I'm also Gen X, right? So like right on the edge of Gen X millennials. And, it's like, sometimes I feel like an elder. Sometimes I feel like I have no clue what I'm doing. It's like, so it's that balance. And I think that fluctuation is really important because, I think growth is not linear, not spiritually, not emotionally, not, there's lots of ups and downs. Sometimes we think we have it all figured out and we go, oh, I actually had nothing figured out, or we had to start again or look at something new. And so I think that, being flexible in the way that we explore things, because, when I think that like, sometimes it's good to have that like young, new curiosity to things. And sometimes we need that energy. So I like that, the idea of being able to switch, not only in the general time frame, but also in individual areas of our life.
Absolutely. And as you can tell, I love going with the flow, but I love throwing that shit down. Sorry, that shiza down. Edit.
Oh my God. No. Our language
swear all the
is
time.
toxic
I
around
have
here.
never said shit on this podcast. Not 8,000 times.
Yeah,
So
not
I
8,000
think-
times. When every time you're like, what the shit? What the shit? It's usually at me.
Exactly.
It usually is at you, actually.
That's true.
I love it. And so with that segue, before you ask me another question, Hillary, I will tell you, and I want to empower each of you listeners, don't practice magic, honey. Throw that shit down.
I like
that. I like that. I want that switched on pillow.
it. Yeah, you're like, I need that on the wall.
I need that on a pillow. Yeah. No, I think that's, that's good advice, because I think it's part of that is just, it's that empowering philosophy and the knowing you can do it and the doing it and the not,
Exactly.
waiting for someone to tell you how to do it, not waiting for someone to tell you if you're doing it right. Just do it.
Do it.
And have faith in what you're doing.
If you had one piece of advice for people starting to ask their own questions, what would it be?
I would say gently, be who you are, where you are. I'm not going to give you GDC's manual. I'm not going to give you, the Witch Life manual. I'm not going to give you anybody else's manual. For my job is to encourage you to find your own manual. And I would say, take a moment. Here, we'll do it together. Put your fingertips together, thumb to thumb, index to index, middle to middle, all of them to the pinky. And I would invite you to do this and breathe in through your nose for a moment. Hold your breath for a moment and blow out through your mouth. And as you breathe in, you're breathing in sacred energy, empowered energy. Hold that in your cells. Release any anxiety. And one more. Breathe in, be here, and release. Be curious, because Creator, however you define that energy, however it has revealed itself to you, has placed inside of you a compass for you and your life, a compass for your destination, for your empowerment, a compass for you to be everything authentic, expression of the divine itself. And you know what the name of this compass is? Curiosity. Follow your curiosity. I know they say curiosity killed the cat, but if you listen to the whole rhyme, it says curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back. Ask your questions. Ask your questions. The curiosity is the compass that the divine has placed into you to follow who and what you can feel as life expressed unto itself.
That's such good advice. And that curiosity is so important. And it's so, I think that's the perfect place. I think there's so many people as they develop their own practice and what that looks like for them. It's like, it's hard when you're figuring that out because you're questioning, but also you don't want to you're afraid you're over analyzing things. And I think that balance of just I think curiosity is healthy in all ways. I think it's important to explore different things because how else do we know that what we are doing is right for us, whether that be emotionally, spiritually, physically, whatever. I think it's if we're not willing to look at, hey, is this the right thing for me? And we're just going along, we don't actually get to get into the meaty part of life that is the exciting part, right? The part that brings us, I think, that much closer to ourselves and what exists around us. So, what is next for you? What do you have coming up that people should know about? Is there anything on the docket?
Oh, there's always something on the horizon, my dears, and I would love to share with you the details. It has to be a mystery right now. I am definitely writing 2 more books.
Yay!
Yep, and the next one that should be coming out is about how to listen to yourself. How to actually give yourself a voice, both physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, all of the above. And what is your internal narrative saying to you? And is your internal narrative in the past, or does it equalize with your current reality? So and then I'm also in the throes of writing a book about the shadow self. So what I love about
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys like that?
Yeah, we do.
Awesome. So, they call me Granddaughter Crow. I am born of the Navajo Nation. I am just really excited to be here with my global tribe, no matter where your ancestors came from on the face of this earth. We all sat in circle around a fire. And hence, you are my brothers. You are my sisters. You are my mother. You're my father. You're my cousins. You are to me everything. Unity in our authenticity is my whole jam.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm so grateful that you came on to talk to us because I think this is such an important topic. We have a lot of listeners that are starting or in the middle of their spiritual journey and are trying to find which pathway to go, what's right for them. And I think this is such an important topic for not just people that are starting out or in the middle, but for all of us, because like, as we said, those stages of our life fluctuate consistently. So where can people
think this is,
oh, go ahead.
This is a good time of year to talk about this because a lot of people are going to be visiting their families this holiday. And you need to remember that it's important not to kill them because they might be helpful to the ecosystem. So, maybe don't kill your Uncle Toledo this year. Maybe this year he was needed. So maybe just pass the gravy this time. Just pass it and
God. See, for me, I'm
take
like,
a breath.
Decompose.
Don't set the house on fire.
Yeah, you're like, right. Granddaughter Crow, where can people find you that want to look you up? I know we have granddaughtercrow.com. Are there other places people can follow you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you just remember Granddaughter Crow, you can find me on all social media. You can find me on YouTube. I do every Sunday night in the evening. I release a 2-minute weekly read to give you insight. So check out my YouTube channel. But in truth, more than looking me up, I want you to look you up. I want you to get to know who and what you are, listener. I want you to know yourself, and that is what I'm all about. I am merely I wouldn't say I'm a guide. I would say that I am here to walk with you along your journey to find your soul on its path to be the greatest that you can be, and only you can be.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. For those of you listening, go check out Belief, Being, and Beyond. Phenomenal book, and so is so helpful as you go through your own journey to have that guidance and knowledge. And for those of you listening, thank you so much for joining us again, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to That Witch Life podcast. Our music is by Dustin Schultz, editing by Corey Drake. If you like what we do, please subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the show, you can buy us a coffee or check out our merch on our Etsy store, or join us on Patreon for bonus content, ad-free episodes, or to join our witch squad. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For show notes, audio transcript, or to ask us a question to answer on a future episode, go to thatwitchlife.com. Until then, keep moding that shit. We will talk to you next week.
So mote it be.